Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's great having you on another interesting episode of the White Blood Panorama on your favorite channel, White Blood Multimedia. I'm your host, Umar Isa Dandago. English language is said to be a global language, which means wherever you go, you can meet someone who understands and speaks it. And nowadays, if you can't speak it, you will be at a terrible disadvantage. So what makes it necessary? Are the Western powers using this language as a means of controlling the world? Well, global politics is not our focus, well, not now and not today. But here in Kano, we have seen a surge and an upsurge of English academies purposely established to help the people of Kano and beyond learn a better English so they can communicate effectively wherever they find themselves. My guest today has been teaching English as a second language for years and later decided to establish his English center. Sanusi Garba Ibrahim studied history at Bayero University, Kano, after getting himself stuffed to the gills with a great deal of English literature. Founder and director of Standard English Academy, he believes that Kano State needs more and more English academies to be able to transform the state for better. Well, Sanusi Garba Ibrahim joins me now. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, a great honor.
Well, I think I need to make it categorically clear to our viewers that you are once my English teacher, and I'm very much proud of you. Thank you very much for your help, for helping to shape me the way I am in terms of speaking English.
You're absolutely welcome. Of course.
So, alhamdulillah. And let's kick off. I said it in my introduction that you studied history at your degree level at Bayero University, Kano. So let me kind of put this question to you. How important is it and how relevant is history to human life?
Well, first of all, to understand the importance and relevance of history, one has to look at a very famous definition of history that says history is the study of who you are and why you are the way you are. So we can understand that it's only when you study history very well that you can understand who you are and why you are the way you are. African countries today are facing a number of challenges ranging from poverty to insecurity to unemployment to crisis and many other issues there. A historian is in a better position to explain why. For example, if you look at the history of Africa, prior to the arrival of the colonial masters, if you look at the history of Africa during colonial administrations, how African territories were taken, were controlled, were colonized, by the European conquerors, how Africa was subjected to European imperialism and many other issues on that time, how you can easily understand why Africa is the way it is today, for example.
So you're creating a connection, a scenario between what had happened in those days, many centuries ago, to what is currently happening. Are you saying that all the upheavals, all the mayhem, the chaos, the conflicts that are ravaging many parts of Africa, including some parts of Nigeria, are as a result of those quote-unquote Western imperialism and colonialism?
Yes, I think you can agree with me when you read a book titled "How Africa How Europe Underdeveloped Africa" by Walter Reddy. You see, if you read that book, you will see how Africa was culturally subjugated, politically dominated, and economically exploited.
Very powerful.
We can really buttress this, looking at the fact that Africans took a number of years being colonized by Europe. Throughout those years, they were not allowed to, they were really not allowed to achieve what they were supposed to achieve at the time, scientifically, politically, and technologically.
Well, a lot of people will argue with you, will even disagree with you, that part of or most of the African problems are not coming from the West, they are coming from Africa. A lot of people are saying that the leadership is one of the biggest problems that Africa is facing. And who are the leaders? Are the Africans, the very same people that we vote for.
The Africans, the fact that, for example, let me give you an example. Let me give you a scenario so that you can understand it better. If you look at Nigeria, for example, we had a series of colonial constitutions in Africa, like the Richard Constitution, the Macpherson Constitution, the Clifford Constitution, and the rest. So when you see how regionalism was introduced by the Richard Constitution, how Nigeria was divided into regions, that was when Africans began to see themselves as regionalists, people that as different. For example, people that were not the same at all. You see, prior to the arrival of the colonial masters, there were several attempts by Africans to unite themselves culturally. For example, many people from northern Nigeria would travel to the Yoruba land, to buy kola nuts and get it back to the northern Nigeria. This brought about a lot of intermarriages and other social forms of solidarity, in Africa. So that's why I'm telling you that that one of the major problems, for example, that we are facing today is lack of unity.
Lack of unity.
Yeah,
and
if
who
you
is
look
the
at
cause
Nigeria,
of this problem?
Yeah, you can say first of all the colonial masters were responsible for. First of all, I want you to understand that the Northern Protectorate and the Southern Protectorate were amalgamated for in 1914. Yeah, 1914. For administrative conveniences. Lugard, the then Governor General, Colonial Governor General of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, said that he amalgamated Nigeria for administrative conveniences. So when different parts of Nigeria with a different social, religious background were amalgamated, things like cultural differences, things like religious differences were not taken into account. So that's why Nigerians still don't see themselves.
Still, a lot of people will disagree with you by saying that amalgamation was probably done to unite the country and to allow religious tolerance and to allow people share of culture.
That's not true. It was done for the purpose of the prime aim of doing that was actually to make sure that Africa was governed well, and to make sure that Africa was economically exploited, or Nigeria in particular.
And they did that. They left the country. At least now we are independent. We have been independent for more than 60 years now. So, are you saying that they are the ones still ruling the country?
Well, I'm not trying to tell you that Europeans or America, for example, is directly in control in Africa, but I can still tell you that America and European countries are still in control of Africa in one way or the other. I want you to look at Francophone countries, countries that were colonized by France. You will see that most of the affairs, there are some important issues and political issues that were related to, for example, politics and economy, which could not be handled by those countries alone, for example. So if you look at it, you'll see that France has been controlling those countries in many ways. For example, there are key decisions that they cannot make
by themselves
unless
they reach out to
France. This is true.
And in return, what do they get? Are they getting some kind of favors from France?
There is this saying that people are saying that France has been helping African countries, in terms of military aid. Like they had been given the military support. Recently, the president of France, Emmanuel Macron, is visiting African countries, but that doesn't really put an end to the crises that are going on in Africa. I want to give you an example. During the Nigerian Civil War of 1967 to 1970,
of course,
France did help the secessionists.
The secessionists, the
Biafra guys.
Okay, they were supported by France.
Yeah, of course. I've seen
What did France want to achieve?
Yeah, it was an era of expansionism. Indirect expansionism. It's like each European country wanted to extend its influence and dominance to other countries.
Okay.
So they make sure that they keep in touch with African countries. Yes.
Great. The conflicts that are happening in Africa is really a wide and controversial issue.
It is indeed.
And it can call for a great deal of serious debate here and there. But so let's move on, because we have got a lot of issues to talk about. Still, one more important issue that is very much related to history. I want to ask you is, I know you have read a great deal of books that are talking about literature. Not just literature, you have read a lot of books about government, political science, history, and international relations. Now, one important thing is, what is the relationship, what is the connection between history and literature?
Well, there's a great deal of relationship between history and literature. First of all, in literature, there's what they called, authored approach. Okay. They say that if you want to understand a text, sometimes there's a need for you to read the history of the writer.
So that's where you guys come in?
Yes, of course, we do come in.
So as a student of literature, I need to know something about history.
There are a number of poems that have been written by poets, which you cannot understand without thorough reading of history. For example, Sipos Pamla, one of the famous South African poets, wrote prolifically about what happened in South Africa, the apartheid regime, how the blacks were discriminated, and the marginalization, the criminal activities that were carried out against the black there. Let me quote
by the whites.
Yeah, by the white, of course. Let me quote this. Okay. He says, "Bullets are never nice things, really. Bullets made by humans are inhuman."
Wow.
In another poem, he says that I see this morning panic in the location. Little children clasping their school bags put to flight. I saw them run across an open belt. They were seeking the refuge of their homes. So if you read this, as a student of literature, you can't really understand, you cannot work out what the writer refers to unless you read the history of South Africa, unless you read about the history of people, the apartheid regime, people like Nelson Mandela, the great hero of Africa who fought for the freedom of the black people in South Africa.
Who also had to spend about 27 years in
prison.
jail.
The guy was in prison for several years for his political view on Africa. The guy who had been, prior to his death, voicing out his view on the independence of Africa, how Africa should be economically and politically.
And who decided after spending one tenure to step down and allow another person to take
over. A great guy. History would never forget that.
Of course, he's a great guy, of course.
Yes, of course.
So you cannot understand the poems written by poets like this guy you've talked about, the South African guy, without understanding the historical background.
I want to give you something in relation to that.
Okay.
That is what they call romanticism.
What is it?
Is
it about love?
No, it has.
But the word romanticism is from romantic, romance, something like that.
No, not really. They say romanticism was an artistic, intellectual, literary, and philosophical movement that originated in Europe in the early 18th century to early 19th century. They wrote a lot. Romantic poets wrote a lot about what they call nature, imagination, and symbolism. They had some symbols there. So now you can't understand most of the poems that were written by romantic poets like William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, unless you read thoroughly the history of Europe during the Romantic era, during the era of Romanticism, how they were trying to write against the violation of nature, how they were against, exploiting people, how they were in favor of the countryside for its peaceful and serene nature, how they reject the idea of contaminating the natural atmosphere, making the town smoky and the rest, how they were against emitting of gas that spoil the whole environment and so on and so on.
Did this movement happen after the Industrial Revolution?
Well, yes, of course, it did happen.
So if it was this time around, then the United Nations would give them some medals for being what they call climate change activists.
Well, really, I think
they were against
I'm not sure.
Contamination of the environment.
Sorry, I'm not sure there was something like the United Nations at the time of Coleridge.
I mean, if it were now, I say.
If it were, well, then they could have done that. But look, I don't want to talk about, that's not our key topic.
Yeah,
but
sure.
I don't want to talk about the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
The United Nations is a great institution established to stop the outbreak of another.
Yeah, I know you historians are really against many of the decisions taken by the United Nations.
Yeah, not really. It's because we are different.
You think it's weak?
Yeah,
You think it's weak? You think it's toothless bulldog?
Yeah, no,
it's answerable to the West, especially the United States of America, which is the major funder.
No, there are some areas in which the United Nations has been doing a good job.
Sure.
Like for example, giving aid, aid packages to war-torn places.
War-torn places.
You can see,
of course,
they have done a good job there.
Sure.
And they have been supporting countries that have been turned upside down by war. You understand? I appreciate what they do. But they still have weaknesses because it seems that the US is in control of the United Nations.
Not US alone. They have 5 major.
It's because the major. I mean the major funder.
Council.
Yeah, the fact that the US is the major funder of the United Nations makes it more powerful, and I feel a key figure in making any decision. So the UN does not make many decisions.
But there is one thing that we
favor of the
there's one thing that we tend to ignore. The United Nations is not a government, so it doesn't have an active power to enforce any law on any other on any country.
But the primary
it just gives suggestions.
I know
like that.
I know that the United Nations was not established to make the world the best place, but perhaps to make it a little bit better
and to prevent
but
wars.
I think I'm not really satisfied with the role they play in terms of handling the affairs of the world. For example, when you look at what's happening between Russia and Ukraine today, you'll see that the United Nations has not really played a significant role.
It's more of an advisory role. Yeah, of course. Because more Russia is a key figure. It has veto power.
So the United Nations should have the power. At least the leader of the United Nations, the president of the United Nations,
the secretary
should have the
general
power to make some key positions. Some key decisions. When it comes to determining when to go to war and when not to go to war.
So you're saying that if you were to have a kind of one-to-one conversation with the Secretary General of the United Nations, what kind of advice would you give to him?
I'm gonna tell him that he shouldn't allow another war to break out. That he should have more powers to handle the issues, and I'm gonna tell him that he should do more justice to countries that are not purely capitalists.
So you're saying that he should be more of the Russian and Chinese guys?
No, I'm not saying it should be fair and just.
Okay, because like Russia is a communist country,
it should be
a socialist communist country,
and handling with all of them.
Okay.
This is not our issue.
Sure, of
I don't
course.
want us to talk about.
No problem. We still have time. We can talk about a lot of things.
Yes.
So let's now move on. After we talked about this issue of literature and its relations with history,
yes.
Now we are moving on to the issue of English teaching and English learning and the emergence of English centers that we have here in Kano. One of which is yours, the one that you have founded.
Yes, Standard English.
Yeah, of course, Standard English Academy. You are the founder of that and the director of that English Academy here in Kano. How transformative do you think English centers like yours, among others, have been in making Kano an English understanding environment? I know you will argue me.
Well, I can say with absolute certainty that English centers in Kano have been doing a good job. They've been playing a critical role in making Kano an English-speaking state.
I said English understanding environment. You said English speaking.
Let's say, for example, it's okay. Let me take it that way. An English understanding environment. I think I just want to tell you that there are a number of contributions we have made to education. Our contributions are multifaceted.
Okay.
I just want to tell you some of them. Many of us have written a number of books and handouts that are reaching not just our students, but many other students outside our centers, for example. A number of times you'll see students studying in the university buying books written by English center proprietors, reading, because most of what we write is also in conformity with syllabus of the secondary school and sometimes the secondary or tertiary institutions. I'm very proud. I'm very proud of that. I want to tell you something. Right now, I have a student who is attending Federal University, Duse.
That's great.
In Jigawa State. And I'm proud of him. I'm very proud of him.
That's great.
The reason I'm proud of him is that when he first came to my school, he couldn't read even the Queen Primer.
Wow.
But now he's in the university studying, and from all accounts, he's one of the best students in the school.
It happened because of the contribution you gave to him.
Of course, he has been. Even last week, I met him. He told me that he had been sailing through, exams.
Oh, that's
he'd been doing great there. He'd been passing his exams with flying colors.
Great.
So I really appreciate that. Every time I look at that, I appreciate. And I wanted to get that in terms of English literacy. If you look at Kano, Kano has become a lot better, far better than many other states. For example, if you attend most of the forums where issues are discussed in English, you see most of the people that attend those forums are either proprietors of English centers or students that attend English centers in Kano. So you can see some of us are now reaching out to other states like Jigawa, Katsina, Zamfara, and the rest. This is one. Second, for example, we are now changing the narrative. If you can see, something different is happening now in Kano, something great. We are now teaching not only English but also mathematics and other rest.
I don't. Maybe for our viewers outside who probably are abroad, who are not in Nigeria, who may not have a great deal of knowledge of how the education system in Nigeria works, we need to tell them that the reason why such English teaching academies are established is because most of the government schools do not are strong enough to teach people the English that they need to be able to communicate with the rest of the world.
Good point. We have mass failure in Nigeria, especially in northern Nigeria. We have mass failure in our education sector. The government has not been able to give all that is required to boost the education sector. The government has not been able to build many schools, and if you go to many public schools, you will see that English is not even spoken, and many schools haven't got qualified English teachers that can impart the knowledge to the students, flawlessly. Many schools don't have sufficient qualified, dedicated mathematics teachers that can teach very well the students. So with the emergence of such centers, Kano is now better off.
Are you competing with the government or helping the government?
We are helping the government in many ways, and that's why we are asking the government to consider us, not just to support us financially, but to at least encourage us, to at least understand that we are doing something great, we are doing something useful and something important,
to the people.
We are helping a lot of people. In my school, there are people that come to my school, they don't even know how to write their own native language.
Wow.
people that cannot write Hausa, they cannot write in Hausa.
Oh,
some of them, if you ask them to write their name, in Hausa, they cannot do so.
This is very,
but when
very
they come,
serious.
they graduate, being able to speak English, being able to write in Hausa. Within a very short period of time, we teach them how to write in Hausa and how to speak English.
That's great. So you're not only teaching them English, you're not only teaching them the English language, you're also helping them learn their native language.
Yes,
that's great.
We are doing that.
Yeah, one more thing before we go. Now, in many English academies like yours, you guys tend to be more focused on teaching and learning pronunciation, and you even tell your students that they can speak like the natives of English. Is it not an exaggeration?
That's not true. Not all of us do that. I know there are some that tell their students that they can speak like native speakers, but that's not possible. Anybody that reads widely and thoroughly will see that it is not possible. So it's virtually impossible for someone who is not born and brought up in either America or England to speak English the way the native speakers do. But at least we can make some progress, and at least we can get understood. And we are teaching them not only pronunciation but also grammar, vocabulary, conversational English, and the rest. So there are many aspects. It usually depends on your class. For example, there are classes where we don't even teach pronunciation. We teach basic conversations in English, like how do you do, how do you do, nice to meet you, nice to meet you too, where are you from, how are you, how old are you, on this basis.
The simple sentences that one needs to communicate.
How they can speak. We teach them how they can speak at bank, how they can speak at market, how they can speak in many places in their environment. So, and also, we also teach them grammar. The basic rules of the English language that will allow them to speak English with alacrity. It depends on the class. We have advanced classes where we teach advanced grammar. Deep topics there.
So what kind of feedback are you getting from the students, like when they go to the banks, or when they go to the hospitals and they communicate with the doctors and the nurses and the bankers?
We get enormously good feedback from our students, because most of them appreciate what they do. Let me tell you, some of them are businessmen, and they tell us that their customers do appreciate the way they speak to them far better than they did before. So they are making progress at these expressions that we teach them, like, I'm here to open an account.
Wow, that's great.
Like
when they go to
I want to speak to the customer care, for example. I have a problem with my BVN. I have forgotten my PIN. I've lost my credit card or my debit card. They really appreciate what we do, and we get feedback. And remember, we also teach them public speaking.
To be able to address the public.
So we teach them how to speak. We do debate, for example.
That's great.
We organize or conduct, a debate between students. Last time we had a debate on whether the civilian administration is far better than the military administration in Nigeria.
This is an interesting debate, to be honest with you. That would be lovely to see the debate practiced or conducted again. That's great. We have like 2 minutes to go. I can see the cameraman is giving me a signal. In 30 seconds, the successes and the challenges you people are facing.
Well, I think we have achieved a lot. We have come a long way. We have made a lot of progress, and I've told you some of them. Let me talk about some of the weaknesses that we have. One, lack of unity. Amongst ourselves. For example, I've been trying to get other teachers, other proprietors together. I've been trying to get them understand that we need to come together and form a powerful union that can at least with which we can at least confront the government. When we want to speak to the government, we need an organization that is capable of doing that. Two, we also need to continue publishing, because writing is very important. Even when we are not around, people will come when we are not there, people will come and see what we have written, and they will get a lot from that. Actually, most of us are operating, you know, in rented
places.
buildings. So, you know, we need to understand that whenever we are operating in a rented building, we need to make sure that we operate in a very good manner. We need to make sure that we work in concept with you know, owners of the place.
That's
yes. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Finally, what can you say about this program and your final words?
Yeah, it's a nice program. It's one of the most hypnotizing program I've ever seen. I really appreciate, and I hope this program is reaching our people. I hope they are watching it constantly.
Yeah.
Because one, it's in English. Second, important issues that are related to the society are discussed thoroughly and intellectually. So I look forward to the time when this program will be more available to our people.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Sanusi Garba Ibrahim, for being on the show.
You're welcome.
That's the end of the show. As you have seen, we have just had an interesting conversation with Madam Sanusi Garba Ibrahim, the director of Standard English Academy. Thank you very much indeed to everyone who has contributed to the production of the program, and on behalf of the big boss Zainab Abdurrahman Agogo and our guest Madam Sanusi Garba Ibrahim, I'm Umar Isa Dandugu saying goodbye and have a wonderful day ahead.